Come on. I knew it would start. So you're watching the little thing spin around. Hey, this is Andy Orr at Falco Canine Academy. I'm glad you're here with me on a Saturday. That's right. Saturday at about 2:15, 2:12 in the afternoon. And kind of an odd time to start my Facebook Live. But for the last week and a half, I've been sicker than a dog and unable to talk for longer than a couple minutes. I'm sure you guys didn't want to hear me hack and coughing over the microphone while I was trying to speak to you about some dog training stuff. But what we're going to talk about today is what happened a few days ago, and that was bringing Charlie into a fact to do some searches for the very first time. And now this can be a very challenging time in the basic training or the beginning section dog is when you're going from the creating the interest in the odor or connecting the odor to the toy, whatever you want to call it, imprinting the odor. It has all kinds of names. When you're going from that process, which can be fairly simple, right, in as far as the task, right? You're just simply having the dog either fetch for a toy made of marijuana, if you're doing marijuana or a narcotics detection dog, which marijuana in California, we don't do marijuana anymore. We just do the three, cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. Marijuana has been taken out. But in that case, what you're sometimes using is the toy and you're playing fetch. And then you're going to end up having this period or this time where you transition from imprinting or teaching the odor like we did on the cinder blocks here with the bed dog. And then, okay, now we need to search for the odor that has been now imprinted in the dog's brain. And we're going to put it inside of a location now that is completely different than what we've been doing before. And not only that, it's full of distractions and full of all kinds of things the dog can get into. Especially some of these dogs that we get that their only life that they've known for the most part has been living in a kennel. And so now you're bringing them into an abundant environment of stuff that they can get into and smell. I didn't check to make sure that my sound was working. I'm using, again, another program here just to be able to share a video that I'm going to show you. Now, let me just make sure my sound is coming across. Oh, good. It is. All right. So what I would like for you to do in the meantime is make sure and comment, tell me where you're watching from, even if you've done it before. I want to know who you are. I want comments. I want you to share with me what it is you're thinking. I'm not in Be Live, so you won't see your comments pop up. I'm in another program called Webinar Jam. That way I can share a video and show you some training that I did a couple days ago. The reason I did it this way is because it's so much easier for you to see all the different shenanigans that goes on in the very beginning stages. Before I go to that video, though, and show you that, a couple questions have come up that I want to make sure and address. One of those things is what happens, especially when you're selecting a dog that has a strong desire for a toy, and especially to hold on to that toy as if it were some type of prey that it had captured. How do I get that toy from the dog? Well, there's a couple important things that I brought up before. Number one, obedience is fantastic and an absolute when training a detection dog, regardless of what any other dog trainer may tell you. There's dog trainers out there that you may find surprising, especially if you've been following us for a while, that tell you that we don't train obedience because it'll take away from the dog's desire to search. Bull loney. Finish that sentence. That is baloney. I talked about a lot in my last broadcast. It is baloney. It is baloney. Don't believe it. It actually makes your dog stronger when you do it correctly. When you do it wrong, it takes away from everything of the dog, not just his desire to search, but from bonding with you and liking you, and because you're doing it wrong. The act of teaching obedience should be a bonding experience, regardless if you're using corrections or not. It is all hogwash. Teaching a dog to be obedient to you, your commands, is a requirement for the dog, for both us being able to live with a dog, right? If it runs your life, unless it's a small dog, and then most people that could care less that this dog is running their life. But it's also necessary for the dog's health, the dog's mental health. All dogs, they want a leader that they can be obedient to. The thought that I don't train my dog obedience because, I just don't want to do it because it's going to take away from who he is. No. No, it creates the require leaders. They're pack animals. They look to a leader. They all look to a leader and want a leader. Many of the leaders that become leaders don't want to be the leader because it's stressful. It causes them anxiety. And so first and foremost, to get a ball from your dog, you must have some level of obedience, number one. All right, so how do we get the ball from a dog that doesn't want to let go of it? I thought I had a ball close to me, but I don't. I have a bunch of pieces of balls that I use them in training, but I don't have one. But if you go back to video one with Charlie, and I may have done this with the other dogs, the black dogs that I was training not too long ago, but in the case of Charlie, he really likes hanging on to that ball. And in the beginning, when I first threw him ball, when I went to go get it, he bit down and didn't want to give it up. Well, the one thing you don't want to do is wrestle with the dog for the ball. You wrestle with the dog for the ball, he's going to hold on tighter. Now it becomes a game, and you're going to create a bigger problem because now it becomes a possession thing. And now the dog is challenging you in a sense, and it becomes this thing, the thing to hold on to it and get it from you. Now it becomes part of a game of winning it from you. The dog really likes pulling it out of your hand. He'll even bring it back to you just so he can pull it out of your hand again, right? And so it becomes this thing that the dog really gets a part of, like this, it makes him feel good and strong. Don't do that. So you're not going to fight the dog for it. So how do you do that? You're saying, well, every time I grab it, he pulls back and I have to fight with him. Well, you have a leash on the dog, number one. And so the leash is on the dog. If you don't have the leash on the dog when he happens to get a toy or happens to get maybe a shoe or something else that you want, you're going to get a hold of him. So you're holding him with one hand so that he can't pull away from you, so that he can't win that thing. Now, he can move his head, surely, and they have a very strong neck. The neck is actually the strongest muscle in the dog's body. But you want to control the dog. And so when you're petting the dog, you're going to find the leash and hold it really close to the collar, or actually grab the collar, put your hands underneath the collar, and then you're going to grab underneath the chin and then work your way up to where you actually grab the ball. And you're going to hold it there, and nothing's going to happen, right? Nothing. The dog will eventually get tired in some cases, not all cases. The dog will get tired of you just holding in that position because you're going to hold him strong, right? So that he can't do anything. There's no fun in you standing there holding his collar and the ball at the same time. At some point, in many cases, not all cases, don't type me and say, well, that doesn't work for my dog. I know. All right. So in some cases, the dog will just actually like give up and let go. At the moment, let's go, throw the ball. Now, it's very strange because now you just won the ball, right? But you want to show the dog that it is better that he lets go because now we're going to actually have fun with the ball, right? The moment you let go, we're going to have fun with the ball. You don't want to necessarily always correct. One of the things that most handlers do or most trainers tell you to do, get all leash and just correct the crap out of the dog until he lets go because of the pain and the discomfort. That is a way to make it happen, but it is the best way. No, I don't think so. I think the best way is for the dog to make the decision to let go, not necessarily because of pain, but because it's not fun for you to both be holding on to him and hanging on to the same time. All right. So in many cases, the dog will let go in that case. If the dog is one of those dogs that doesn't want to let go, what you want to do is the reverse of what he's trying to make happen. What he's trying to make happen is he's trying to pull it away, and he's trying to get that sensation of that tug of war with that toy. Do the opposite. As he comes to you or you have a hold of him, you're going to take that toy and you're going to push it into his mouth. You will see that most dogs, as you begin to push that into his mouth, they go, no, and they open their mouths up and they try to get away from it and they let go. All right. And that'll be a very quick way to get that dog let go. And again, I'm not telling you to do it in the sense that you're trying to shove it down his throat, although the dog may think that you are, right? But you want to do it in a way that to the point where the dog he'll actually open his mouth and say, you can have it. I don't want you to do that to me anymore, right? And so you're holding him strong on the collar or the leash, really short. You're grabbing the ball. Remember, you have to grab underneath his mouth and get a hold. You got to control his head first. Don't just keep trying to grab for the ball, because what's he going to do? He's going to turn his head and do one of these things so you can't grab it. So that's why I say you get a hold of the dog underneath his chin, and then you work your way to the ball. When he begins, you can see him bite down on it, right? And then you push it into his mouth. The dog goes, no, and then you have the ball. Now again, you throw the ball. Nice, what a good dog, right? There's no like beating the dog or correcting the dog. Why do I say these things? People are like, oh, he said beat the dog. Because I've seen people beat their dog. I've seen handlers, mostly in law enforcement, they use a lot of force. I've seen other people, not in law enforcement, use a lot of force and do some things very strong to the dog. Great info as usual. Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it. So you want to make this you don't want to make it a war. You don't want to make it a challenge. You just, what a good boy, nice. And you get a hold of the collar, what a good boy, nice. He's got the ball in his mouth and you can see him going, I'm going to win again. No, you're not going to win again. What a good boy. Grab his chin, get the ball, make nothing happens, right? You're not going, no, you're not doing that. Just nothing happens. You're getting a hold of the ball. You just kind of wait. And you say, I can wait here all day. Make sure you have time. and you're going to hang on to it. And then the moment he lets go, nice, what a good, and you throw the ball really fast. And you have, wow, what a great dog. You're the most fantastic dog in the world. Now, if you have a dog that once you throw the ball, he takes off, right? You have him on a long line, right? You don't let him have that opportunity. You only throw the ball. If you have a 30-foot long line, you throw the ball 5 to 10 feet. That way he doesn't hit the end of the line, but when he does try to run away, you got a hold of the line and you reel him in, you go, what a good boy, and you bring him in. So there's none of the chasing the dog around. There's none of the wrestling with the dog. It's all calm. Throw the ball, what a good boy. If he's running around and not coming back, you just kind of reel him in. What a good boy. You pet him, right? First, you don't start right away with the grab of the ball. What a good boy. Maybe you let the line out again so that he can kind of press around like he's a badass with the ball in his mouth. And then you bring him back, pet the dog, and then you get a hold of the collar. Nice. Grab a hold of his chin, get hold of the ball, and nothing happens, right? You see how calm this is? It has nothing to do with power and dominant, the alpha role BS that you hear people talk about. No, none of that stuff. Just get hold of the ball. Nice. And I've done this with big Malinois, Dutch Shepherds, German Shepherds. On occasion, you get your hand a little bit now and then because they're trying to grab onto the ball and you get your finger. That happens. If you are, if you scream and cry when your hand gets a little bit bit, then this probably isn't for you. Then get a different dog, get a smaller dog. Going to evaluate a person, aggressive shepherd. Any quick suggestions? Amanda, this is the person to follow for tips about dog training. Nice, April. I just called you Amanda. I don't know. Oh, you're talking to Amanda. I gotcha. And Jack, thank you very much. So I will talk a little bit about the aggression, but let me talk about it after I play the video. I hope you don't mind, Jack, because that's not really the subject that this is titled. And I know sometimes I get off topic, but let me just do it after I talk about what it is we're going to be talking about. I just wanted to address the ball thing because one of my students asked me, and I promised him on the next broadcast I would talk about how to get the ball away from his dog who's biting down on it. All right, so I gave you two things there. Hold on to the ball, do nothing. If he still hangs on to it, then just push the ball into his mouth a little bit. I promise you the dog will let go, and that's all fine. All right, now let's go about bringing the dog into the home for the first time. I also, on the video, have a little bit of an explanation prior to starting, and I'll probably repeat myself in the video because I filmed that video a few days ago. Just understand. I just want to make sure that it's very clear and and again, unless you're using a dog that's one of your pets, right? If it's a pet, then your dog has been in your house before. I would recommend searching your house. If you have a pet that you're using to create a bed bug detection dog, you can probably use the house a couple times, but the house is where the dog lives. The house is where everything's normal. The house and the garage are places where the dog has experienced before. This dog, Charlie, before I started imprinting, I had never been in this garage before, so it was a perfect place for me to start. This is a brand new training location. He's never been before, and so for him, it was perfect. If it was a pet dog that I had, I probably wouldn't start in my own garage. I'd start somewhere else because you want it to be as new. You want the dog experience newness right away, or else it becomes this thing that you can't overcome when the dog has to go work at a Howard Johnson's. Not that Howard Johnson's has bed bugs. Just I came up with a name I probably should have. A hotel where the dog has never been before. You don't want to be the first experience for the dog to finding out, hey, there's other places out there besides my home, right? So you want to right away get the dog experience in training and experiencing new locations and maintaining the training and the growth and getting the dog to be introduced to the real world, right? One of the mistakes I think people make is they train in the training facility, get the dog already, they give the dog to somebody, and now when the dog goes out in the real world, which surprisingly happens more often than you think, these trainers train dogs in their kennel, right, where the dog lives and experiences nothing new, just the barking dogs, the dog smells of the dogs that live in the kennel, and the owner where they're living with but never experiences a movie theater where you have to do bed bug detection on a sticky floor with popcorn all over the place and God knows what else is in there, right? Or a hotel or an apartment that they've never been before. That's their first experience. The dogs don't work because the dogs are now going, wait, there's way better things for me to be interested in here. That would screw these bed bugs. Look at all this, I got dirty diapers from kids who don't even know. All the stuff that their experiences is crazy, right? No, I'm not using BeLive today, Karinder. I'm using Webinar Jam because I want to share a video and play it so you can watch. If I have to use Webinar Jam, I can't use BeLive when I do that. Good question, though, on a marketing standpoint. And so back to the point. So right away, if you're wondering why, this is such a big transition, is because you have dogs, Charlie being one of them, who grew up in a kennel environment mostly. As far as I know, I know Chris really well. I'm pretty sure the dog did not live in his house before he got here. He could correct me when he watches the video and shares with us. But I'm pretty sure the dog's never been in his house. So you can imagine, I got this dog named Charlie. So far, he's been in the backyard and in the garage, imprinting the odors for the bed bugs. And now for the very first time, you're going to see it on video, the very first time he's ever been on the inside of my house. And I'm telling him, remember those things we were looking for in cinder blocks? Yeah, those things, you need to now find them and perform that same behavior of sitting. Are you kidding me? You're going to see what a big transition is. The dog's going, wow. You see him jumping around. His nose and his olfactory system is probably going crazy because I'm using an old couch that I'm getting ready to throw away that's been in my family with 5 kids sitting on it, eating on the couch, watching television. Could you imagine the treasures that are in a 13, 14-year-old couch with a house of 2, well, used to be 2 adults, now it's 1 adult, and 5 children who have ate everything on the planet on this couch while watching television. And so this dog, Charlie, comes into this environment, and now you're going, okay, search for those bed bugs that we want you to find that he just got introduced to. Imagine the craziness. You could imagine being as a human being, being raised in a cave. Have you ever seen those movies where somebody's like a Tarzan, being raised by apes, right? And then sees the city for the first time? Like, you got to be kidding me, right? It's craziness. This is the same thing. You got to just take place of Charlie going to space. And now, all right, Charlie, I just need you to do the same thing we were doing in the garage. Are you kidding me? It's not going to be easy. And you're going to see that, but you'll see how it progresses over, I think this video is over 2 days, 2-day period. The first days are just craziness, what you're going to see. I think I did probably 7 or 8 training sessions. On the video, you're going to see 4 of those. Don't worry, the other 4 were just the same, just craziness. I just didn't think you needed to see the same thing over and over. All right, we're going to play that video. I have a voiceover on the video where I'm describing what it is that's happening, and then I'm going to come back after that video. We're going to do a little bit more discussion. We're going to talk about Jack's question about evaluating a German Shepherd, and some suggestions I have about that German Shepherd issue. And there you go. All right. So let me go ahead and find the video over here and get ready and play it for you. It's about 16 minutes long, I think. And so enjoy. Trying to think there's a couple moments of significance for a trainer. And the only thing I'm not going to be able to do is really kind of hone in on that spot and show you where that spot is. But kind of if you're a trainer and you're watching this and it's important to you, watch the video. You may want to take notes. You may want to watch this replay too. But there's a couple really significant moments. There's one time in particular where the dog takes me back to where the bed bugs are. And that is one of those moments that when you're a trainer, you go, I got him. You go, this is the right dog. This is the right thing for him to be doing. To this point, I've done all the right things, because when he takes me back to that odor, it is significant. It is way more significant than the average person may ever believe. But for me as a trainer, it was significant and huge to know, to be kind of to be reaffirmed. Is that the word I'm looking for? I think it's called reaffirmed. Reaffirmed in my this desire that Chris had found the right dogs. That together we selected this dog, and he decided, and I decided that this would be the right dog to send. And that's the moment when it all tells me, you know what, I think we made the right choice. at that moment, that's one for me. And that's on day, that's an introduction into my home. So it's really early on, and it's really, really cool. All right. So look for there's a couple others that happen. So look for that one, and I'll stop talking and I'll play the video right now.
All right, like I said before, we're going to talk about what happens here in this next stage of bringing the dog into a closed environment like the inside of a home to begin doing the search. It's going to be greatly different when you're doing the cinder blocks, even in a garage. Many of us do training on the outside in the field or in a portion of our outside yard if we have a kennel or some type of shelter that we work in. But bringing it in to have the dog search furniture, where I have 5 kids, right? And 4 of them still live at home. Some of them are really small, and they like to hide cheese behind the couch. Strangely enough, he's a 3-year-old, so because he likes the kind with the wax on the outside, so he prefers to chew on the wax and toss the cheese behind the couch, or even in the cushions of the couch. I've discovered it there. And, so on and so forth, dirty socks here and there, or, something, half a pizza they've thrown away in the trash can. So bringing a dog who's been working in what would be considered probably mostly sterile environment other than, the normal odors inside that garage, into a home which is fruitful in odors, I guess that's a good way to say it, is going to be extremely different. So we're going to take a look at 2 separate days of training. I think it's 2. Yes, 2 separate days of training. And the very first search you see in these series of videos is the very first time that Charlie has conducted a search inside this home. He during the testing phase over in Northern Ireland, he was tested in a closed environment to search for a tennis ball. But this will be the first time he's in a closed environment in a really new environment where you have all the distractions of people living within a home, especially children, and searching for the new odor that we're trying to make a connection to, and there can be some fall off. So I'm going to begin playing the videos. I'm going to speak over the videos just a little bit, but I want to kind of give you an idea of what it is that you're going to see. And again, I will be speaking over the videos that you're about to see. So let's go ahead and take a look at the very first video, and I'm going to take you through some of the things that, as a trainer, that I'm thinking about, and what you're seeing, and what the expectations are for this very first time searching for bed bugs in a closed environment. All right, the first thing you need to remember is this is the first time Charlie has been inside of a home and searching it. And there he goes. I don't know how he spotted that. That's a case for some wireless headphones. I'm not sure how he spotted that, but he did. Or he smelt it and went up there and tried to grab it. But the good news is he left it alone. He's not overly focused on it. And I didn't touch it or grab it to put my attention on it. So now because I didn't, he's not showing attention. Now, as you can probably tell, the bed bugs are in that left-hand corner of the couch. And I'm going to be very obvious to him to show him where they're at. I want him to have a success. I'm not going to leave it up to him to try to find this, because, again, this is something he's never done before. The only thing that is even closely related to anything he's done up to this point is the fact that there's live bed bugs in a plastic bag that are kind of hidden underneath that cushion, at least hidden for now. All I want to do is get his attention over there so that he can go to source, and I'm going to help him go to source. Now, he's in the odor. That's why he's jumping around and kind of excited. He can smell it. He just can't figure out what to do because there's no cinder block. I'm not in the position I was inside the garage. You see that shaking? That shaking is information that he's thinking, he's confused, he's nervous because he smells it, he doesn't know what to do. He's in a place that he's never been before. He's doing something that he's never been before, and that shake is significant. So just keep that in mind, because you're going to see that a couple times, only when he's an odor, though. And that's how I know that he has at least his olfactory system has a basic understanding of what that odor means. It means that he's supposed to do something. He just doesn't have a full picture exactly what that's supposed to look like. And you look at that excitement level when he smells it. He just doesn't know what to do, right? His brain is kind of just like going, I don't know, I smell it, I forgot, because something's missing. The cinder blocks are missing, the garage is missing, the odors in the garage are missing. You're bending over the top of me looking like a very aggressive man. I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do. So that's what all this is. And so now we have to teach the dog something else. Again, the only thing that stays consistent is that it's the bed bug odor. So at some point you got to kind of give the dog a break. let him kind of wander around and reset, and then you know, here I'll pick up the leash so that he can't run around the entire house, which to me it looked like he was getting ready to do, like just to take off, just just you know, basically look around the house because he's never been in here before. So now we're going to go back over there again. I want to help him be successful. This isn't a time for play, but I'm not giving any corrections. I'm not expecting any kind of searching pattern. Well, there was a shake there. He had passed by the odor and then came over to that position and shook. But again, the shaking is information. It is telling you that he's just confused, kind of not quite sure what he's supposed to do. But it's good information. It's not bad. All right. So there his nose goes on it. Now I'm going to tell him what to do. I'm going to actually tell him to sit. Might be, I don't know if you can hear me, but you can. So there he sits without the sniff. So now I need to put the two things together. I've seen him sniff and I've seen him sit. Now I need him to sniff and then sit. And I need it to be fairly close together. There's a sniff. There's a sit. There's a reward. All right. And then we'll play for a little bit. I think actually I come over here, I turn off the camera as I'm playing with him, and then I turn the camera back on, and that's just so that we don't have bored tears as I'm playing with the dog. In a moment here, you'll see suddenly I'm searching the door. So just know it's just because I edited the part of all the playing. There we go. And we're going to start searching again. All right, I didn't go out of the house. I didn't leave. I didn't do anything else. I just played with him a little bit, and now I'm kind of giving him direction, but not as much as I was before. But still, you'll see at a point here, I have to actually lift up that cushion. There he sits, thinking, well, maybe if I just sit, maybe this is a new game. Maybe that other game is, we're done with that game. Now the game is just simply sitting. There he smells the odor. Like he's obviously attracted to it because you saw him lick his lips. He's looking at me going, hey, I found it. But I forgot what I'm supposed to do. His tail's wagging. He's happy, right? Because he knows that the odor is near, or he knows that he's in the spot where we got rewarded last time, right? And so we really have to paint a picture here for the dog to help him understand that it's about him finding that odor, letting me know he found it by sitting. Again, all the excitement is telling you that he can smell the odor, that he knows that something's about to happen. He just hasn't quite put all the pieces together yet. So here I'm allowing him to process what's going on. I'm waiting to see if he's going to do anything on his own. He doesn't. So I give him some direction. He goes back between the two couches. Now this is an old couch that I kept around for bed bug detection for the time being. I'll end up throwing it out, but it's an old couch. It's got crumbs in it, and who knows what the kids have hidden in there from time to time. There may be some stuff still hidden in those couch cushions and springs, because it's an old couch. It's been around for a long time. The new couch is what the camera's sitting on. All right, so again, we're just going to make this so obvious. Look at me lifting up the cushion there, making it so obvious. We're going to give the dog a break again. We're going to come away, kind of reset, let his brain kind of just mellow out, and then we're going to start again. Sniff. He goes up and smells that holder, that case. He did a good job of sniffing that chair. He's sniffing the other couch, which is a, what do they call that? I forget what they call it. There, he smells the odor again. Look at and he looks at me like, dude, it's right there. Aren't you supposed to throw me the toy? Yeah, I am, but you're supposed to be sitting. So I'm giving him the opportunity to think through it. Sometimes when they think through it, they will become successful, and they will go back to the odor on their own sometimes. Lifting up the cushion, getting him close to source. He smells it, tastes it. Did you see the tongue come out? That's all good stuff. Smells it again, tastes it again. Smells it, tastes it. See the tongue come out again? I help him sit. Now I'm reminding him, now let's put the two together, buddy. Come on. I'm encouraging him. We're not giving him any pressure. This is all encouragement. There's no correction. There's no harsh words. All right, I'm going to walk away. Bam! He goes back towards it on his own. All I need to do is walk away. He's like going, no! Bam! So what I'm rewarding there isn't necessarily the closeness between the sniff and the sit. It's the fact that when I was leaving, he took me back. That is definitely something I want the dog doing in the future, and I wanted to make sure and reward that he decided on his own, I'm not going anywhere, because I know the odor is over here. I know I'm supposed to do something. I helped him out by giving him the word. He then sat, and I rewarded him. So that was really important. That's something, if your frustration level ever is kind of starting to peak at this point, it's those moments that it should all go away, because there's where you see it all starting to come together in the dog's brain. That he's really, again, the dog has no clue. He's just a dog. He can't figure out where he's at, right? He can't figure out why he's in here. He can't figure out, and there's that shake again. That's nervousness, thinking. It's the stress of being in school and not understanding the equations. You know that feeling when you're, in your class for the first couple days and they're teaching something that's difficult, maybe algebra or trigonometry, and you're just like, I'm never going to get this. That's what that shake is. And there he sniffs it, closes his mouth, and then there's the reward. Nice. That was a lot faster, right? And so those are the moments. Those are the things we're looking for to see how things get better. I didn't have to lift up the cushion as much or point at it or stick his head down there. I had to do none of those things. All right, so now it's time to change positions because we've just, did that enough. And here I have another old couch that it's going to be thrown out to pretty soon, the next couple weeks after I get done training this dog. And there's a tear in the cushion from the kids jumping on it, of course. And so that's where I'm going to put the bed bugs. I'm just putting it in a new spot, something different than what we just did, to keep things progressing. I want it to be a different look. I want it to be a different place. Now it is a couch, that's okay, but it's in a different spot. And this is, again, this is still the very first day. This is the same day as that training we just saw. It's actually about 15 minutes later. Look at that sniff now. That's really good. That tells me that he probably smells odor. Is it the bed bug odor? I'm not sure. Look at that excitement when he smells the bed bugs. He shakes, he looks at me, he jumps up and down, he actually sits. That's a delayed reaction. I'd prefer not to have the delayed reaction, so some people might reward, and on another day I might have rewarded that. But here I'm going to ask for a little bit better. Here I'm going to ask for the dog he's now sitting. Hey, dude, I smelt it, I sat. It may not have been fast, but at least, in his brain he's thinking, I smelled it and I sat. But for me, on this day, I want it to be a little bit better. I want it to be more closely tied together. And he's trying hard, right? He's trying to convince me. So I'm going to wait for him to figure it out. There he smells it. And he sits. Nice. There's the reward. But he missed it. Darn it. I remember when that happened too. I just went, man, we could have had that one, but it fell out of my armpit. But here we're going to reboot. Again, in detection work, because it's pain-free, it should be mostly stress-free. We can have those hiccups. We can ask for perfection. He's still thinking, I'm going to find that ball. That I saw the ball. I smell it on the ground. And there we go. The only thing we didn't get there is a complete sit, but that's okay. We're trying to recover from a little faux pas there. All right, there's a cut in the video, and here we come back again. We're going to follow up with another search. See if we can get a little bit better than all the extra garbage that happened there. But that's dog training. All right, he's kind of spinning around me. He's trying to figure it all out. Again, these are very short dynamic searches. This is really not, we're really not focusing on the search aspect. We're focusing on what he's supposed to do when he finds the odor. The searching will come as we make sure and get this understanding down. Now, he didn't smell it. He just sat. He probably can smell the odor. Nice. Show me the source. That's what I want him to do. I want him to show me source and then sit. All right, so that's it for that day of training.
Good boy.
And so we're going to come back the next day. You can tell that it'll be the next day because I'm wearing a different shirt. It'll happen here in just a second. I actually left the bed bugs there overnight, so they were there for 24 hours. Excuse me. That'll give us a little bit different scent picture for the dog. But there's no way that there's no bed bug odor there, right? All right, so here we come in the next day. You're going to see the picture change here just a little bit. The curtains will close. I was trying to take away from that backlighting. Right about now. About now. There we go. All right, this is the next day. Let's see what happens. By him going away on a positive note, we should see progress. Sniff an outlet there. Going back to searching. Nice. Again, we're not looking for perfection in the search. We're just looking for the understanding that when he goes to odor, he's supposed to.
Nice! Nice!
The butt wasn't completely down either. I kind of missed that too. But anyway, for the most part, that was 90% exactly what I want. We just needed that last percent, and that's his butt to hit the ground, which we'll do it again. So I think the only reason I did it again is because I rewarded him on a non-sit. I didn't want him going away without having the butt touch the ground. So we're going to come back and do this one more time. But again, we're seeing progress, right? This looks way better than that very first search that we did at the very beginning of this particular broadcast, which is hugely different from his very first time doing a search in this room. So I'm starting from the other end. He's sniffing, searching, sniffing. That's a good head into the cushions look right there. He goes to the source and sits, butt all the way down. Much better. Now, that's one I can end on. Sorry about my GoPro there. For some reason, it went into slow motion every so often, so that's why you're getting that really odd sound. But that's it. That's what we wanted. That's a couple days of the introduction of searching the interior of a home, and I hope that was helpful to you. So let's go ahead and go back to our screen, and we'll talk a little bit more about what it is that we had going on here. All right?
There we are. All right. Well, there's the progress, and you saw if you have any interest, probably only dog trainer interested. It can get a little bit boring for some people to watch this type of thing because it actually can frustrate people, right? And that's the hardest part, right? Is the keeping the patience as the dog, running around like a maniac, act like a fool. And to, again, many people, it seems like, God, you just smell the stupid thing. You smelled it. No, the connection is completely different. The only thing that's the same is the bed bugs, and it takes the dog a while for him to understand. But you saw in that very last repetition where he brought it in, he went to it, smelled it, and sat right away. That's progress in a very short period of time. But we're not done. We got more locations to go. We got different places to put it. We got to put it a little bit higher. We got to put it a little bit lower. Both these locations are right there at the dog's nose level, and so it's easy for the dog to do that. So then we begin slowly, not right away. We still have a little bit of introduction. The dog still has a lot of work to do to learn the searching patterns, to learn how to find odor inside of a room because it acts different in a closed environment as opposed to an open environment. Open environment being anywhere outside where the natural wind is blowing, as opposed to in a closed environment where you have air conditioning, you have vacuum effect from doors opening and closing, to ceiling attics where they have the fans that are sucking the air up, which can then draw the odor up. And so there's a lot of factors in a closed environment that the dog needs to be introduced to so the dog can learn how to be successful, and also for the handler to know what his dog's limitations are. Every dog has a limitation. No dog is perfect, and they're going to have environmental situations where they're not that effective. So we have a ways to go, a lot of places to visit, a lot of searches still to do. I'm obviously not going to be able to video record all of them and show them all to you, but you've seen much of the beginning, and this phase that you just watched on video, I'm pointing towards my family room over there, it can be the most difficult and most frustrating. If you're going to lose a dog, it can be in that transition because handlers get frustrated and they begin to force the dog by using the leash. At no time did I take the leash and force the dog's nose on it. I did go short leash. That way the dog couldn't leave it very far and then have to reset and try to find it. I went to a short leash, but I didn't go to forcing the dog's nose on it. I just opened up the push a little bit in the beginning to make sure that was really obvious. And of course, you have to know that then at some point you begin to back off. And now the dog has to go to the mode of now he's conducting all the searches. He's getting his nose the places he needs to be, and he's the one who's telling me where the bed bugs are, as opposed to me showing the dog where he needs to sniff. Again, another mistake trainers make is they stay in the showing the dog phase way too long and don't kick into the dog showing the handler and the trainer where the bed bugs are. You need to get there as soon as possible and need to start trying to get there early on, or else the dog will become dependent on the person who's handling him at the time. All right. So I hope that was interesting to most. I know it's not going to be that interesting to everybody, but please feel free and comment and let me know what your thoughts are on that kind of stuff. My GoPro settings got changed somehow, so it kept going into slow motion. So in the editing process, that's why maybe it was off a little bit. I had to go and speed up the video so that it would be normal. Because it would go into slow motion. Somehow I changed the settings by accident when I pushed the play button. I just wanted to say hi to Paul Byer. Again, he and I worked together at Anaheim Police Department for many, many years. Great to see him. He's working in another state now. Jack Pitt, who had a question that I'm going to answer him in. Corinder, great to see you. I see you not only here on the Falco Canine Academy, but I see you on the Facebook Live TV shows and the Create a Launch Profit and some of the other broadcasters that are out there doing Facebook Lives. And April, my good friend April, who I've never in person, only know her from being online. Glad to see April. She has referred Amanda and I think even other people to our Falco Canine Academy Facebook page for dog training assistance. So for most people that have pet dogs, they're going, why am I watching about bed bug detection? Because that's one of the things we do. We do pet dog training and we do bed bug detection. But if you watch it, it really does tell you some other things about dog training that may be helpful with a pet dog owner if you're watching some of the bed bug stuff. So next thing I want to do, I want to address, I want to make sure and address, as I'm typing in another window here to get ready for something else, I want to address what, hold on. Sorry, I'll go back here. But Jack asked about, he's going to evaluate. So Jack is apparently a dog trainer. I don't know Jack. We may have met. I'm sorry, Jack, if we have met before and I just don't remember. He says he's going to evaluation for an aggressive German Shepherd. I think Jack might be part of the Orange County Police Canine, Orange County German Shepherd Rescue. But he's going to go to evaluate an aggressive German Shepherd and wanted some possible tips. He says, your thoughts on a 5-year-old Shepherd that has not been socialized, has nipped people. Final straw was that a child got nipped. Thank you for your time. So obviously, some information that I don't have is if the 5-year-old is part of the family where the dog lives, or it was a neighbor kid or a random kid at the park, or another member of the family that was over visiting. Perhaps that child went towards the dog's spot, where their bed is, and that's when. So there's some information missing. However, German Shepherd that's aggressive. You got to understand that there's a lot of reasons why a dog can be aggressive. Again, some and very commonly it can be lack of socialization, that the dog in his upbringing from a puppy was never really properly introduced to the world, right? Kind of like what we're talking about. Again, this is where the bed bug dog training kind of replicates some of the things that we're going to be talking about pet dogs, is that you need to introduce them to environments in a way that is positive, and you'll get good results out of it. If you don't, you'll get bad results or a dog that doesn't work. Same thing with socialization, that early on you need to make sure and get the dog into situations where the dog can learn that the real world isn't dangerous, that strangers aren't all evil, that children are not all evil. The children are not all evil, that, a walk in the park with a dog coming toward you, that dog is not thought to always be a threat, right? So how do you do that in a way that helps your dog become confident in those situations? And one of those ways is to raise them in that kind of situation. You raise a dog from a very young pup in the situations, and so it just becomes normal to go for a walk and see a kid riding by on a skateboard. And you do the right thing when that happens. When the kid rides by on the skateboard, possibly you put the little puppy into a sit and you pet dog as long as he's doing the right thing. As long as he's doing the right thing, being quiet, sitting, not whining, not growling, not barking, not fearful, right? One thing people do is when a dog becomes fearful is they pet the dog when the dog becomes fearful. No, you don't pet the dog when he becomes fearful. You wait until the dog shows some strength, and you pet the dog when he shows some strength. I know people are going, oh, but he needs to be hugged when he's being fearful. No. Help the dog by either distracting him, reverting his attention towards something else. if you're in a situation, keep some with a puppy, especially. They love treats. Most puppies love treats, like little bits of hot dog or chicken or something like that. And you take those with you. And those people going, oh, I hate food for it. No, I'm not telling you to use food as a reward system. I'm telling you to use it to reinforce certain behaviors when they happen. And food is a great way to do that, especially with a puppy. All right. So you've got your food with you in a plastic bag in your pocket or in a pouch on your side. This dog's introduction to the world is a puppy. Again, I'm going to get to Jack's question in a moment, but I'm just want to make sure that we do this right. And you can do this with adult dogs, so. You know your dog hates skateboarders, and so what do you do? Right down the street in Brea, there's a skateboard park where I'm positive I'm going to find a skateboarder, right? So I take my dog and I start, how close to the skateboard park? Do I start in the middle of the skateboard park, or do I start 100 yards away from the skateboard park? Right, 100 yards from the skateboard park, right where the dog can begin to hear the sound of the thing that causes him some fright. So if it's a puppy, you're going to go there. If it's an adult dog, you're going to go there. It doesn't matter. And that's where you're going to begin to get the dog over these things that cause them some stress. If the dog shows strength, you give the dog a treat. You move forward, you stop, you sit. You can hear the dog, you can see the dog, especially a German Shepherd who has radars, right? You know what they're listening to because the ears tell you where they're listening. The ears shift over to the sound where the skate park is and where the kids are screaming and hollering and hooting and probably cussing. That's what happens at skateboard parks. And the ears are like, go that direction. You get the dog's attention. Nice. The dog turns attention. You give it a treat. Very good. You didn't growl. You didn't bark. You didn't snarl. You didn't cower. You didn't roll over on your back and pee all over yourself. None of those things. You sat there very confidently. I could tell you were hearing it, and you did nothing in those regards, and you give the dog a treat. On that day, you may be able to move up to 90 yards, but you want to make sure that you have success before you go away from the park, put the dog in the car, and drive home. The next time you go to the skate park, hopefully the next day, maybe a couple days later, you go to the 90 feet where you were before. Make sure you still have what you had. If you don't, and the dog becomes nervous and begins to whine, you move back to the place where you were able to get success. You start back there again, and you repeat. It may be a couple weeks before you get to where the actual skate park is, right? It may take you a while. But those are some of the things you need to understand about environmental, about socialization type of issues. And this works the same with kids. It works the same with taking the dog to PetSmart or Petco. You start on the outside of Petco and PetSmart, stand there on the outside, never entering PetSmart for a couple days, and then finally go through the front door. You praise the dog for showing strength when you go through the front door, and then you leave, right? And then you finally get past the cash register, and then you leave. And then you walk down a couple aisles, and then you leave after giving your dog some treats. So these are the things that you do, and when you have the dog you have, this is what you have to do. Many people want a really quick solution. I just want my dog to stop eating people. Well, it may not happen tomorrow. It may not happen by the end of this 1 hour evaluation, but I know where we're going to start. Where we're going to start is here, 100 yards away from the skate park, whatever. And don't get me wrong. If you guys start 100 yards away from the skate park and you can get to 50 feet on that day because the dog has showed you absolutely no signs of showing any fear until you get within 50 yards, then you move until you begin to see the anxiety, and then you move back, and then you reward for strength, and then you move forward, and you massage all this stuff, and you work around it, right? So you can bring that into almost any situation, all right? And so that's one thing you do. In regard to the evaluation, is that, Jack, is you want to make sure and try to understand what is causing this aggression. When I evaluate, and this go through a whole class, and don't worry, dog trainers, when you're watching this, is that I'm going to finally get one together. I've been working on it, and I false started one a couple of weeks ago because I was using some other type of technology, which immediately they changed, and I said, oh, damn it, I'm gonna go to this one new technology, and I'm gonna make sure that it happens. But we're gonna put together a trainer's course on how you can actually make money being a dog trainer, not how you be a dog trainer. We're going to give you some tips about that, but how you can make money at being a dog trainer, because there's no sense having great knowledge in something if you can't get paid to do it, right? Because you can't do it then, right? You can not do it as a hobby, I guess, but you're not going to change the world by doing it as a hobby necessarily. Where you're going to be able to do it is if you can actually make a living from it, and that way you can do it all the time and share the message and share your word and go teach classes and get lots of people to come and see you. They'll pay. They'll get lots of people to pay. I've been doing this for years. I just got flown to Philadelphia for 2 days to speak about dogs. They paid for my flight. I ate at a French restaurant. They paid for my room at a very nice hotel. And I spoke for 2 days at an event and got paid to do that. Why? Because I have a message. I know how to market myself. I know how to market my message. And they contact me and say, we'll pay you and we'll pay all your expenses to come to Philadelphia and speak and, go out on the town and just send us the receipts. And so that's why you need to learn how to make money training dogs. All right, so your evaluation. So this is important. You need to go down, and I'm going to lose my voice. So hopefully I don't lose my voice before I end this. Now, I know this is at the end of the broadcast, so only a couple people are going to make it here and actually see this. But this is really important. So Jack, you may be the only one who's watching the replay and watching what it is I'm about to talk about. But in the first couple minutes of the evaluation, I tell all my trainers and talk to them, and some remember, some probably forget I already even mentioned this, but the most important thing for you to do is not focus on the dog. The tendency for most dog trainers is to focus on the dog. The focus needs to be on the people and the dog. What is happening between the people and the dog in that evaluation? It can be uncomfortable, I think, sometimes, because strangely enough, I don't necessarily talk a lot in the first 10 to 15 minutes of me meeting somebody. And I think there's been times where I've not warned the people that I'm evaluating because I get so engrossed of watching what is happening, the dynamics between the human being and the dog. Right? I'm going to give you a couple things to look for here, but you want to spend time watching the relationship between the family and the dog, not just the person who has the leash and the dog, but what's happening with the family and the dog. And I love when I've been able to go into a home and there's maybe one or two kids in the room. You got the wife, you got the husband, one or the other's holding the dog. One of them hates the dog, one of them loves the dog. And you can see some of the kids are suddenly now hugging the dog as if they're thinking you're there to take the dog away. There's these really weird and cool things that happen as you're sitting there watching the whole situation. And you are going to watch for a couple of things. You want to watch for how is the dog reacting to what is happening now in this new dynamic. And I'm telling you, it's going to be new because people act different because you are there. Whether they called you because you're a master dog trainer because of whatever reason they've heard about you and they want you to come in, whether you're there as a part of the team, the rescue, and that you're the one who got the call to go with this dog that happens to be the dog that you're assigned to or the family you're assigned to, and you're going there, they're going to act different, right? Because of a lot of things, right? They love the dog and don't want the dog to go away, or they've learned to hate the dog and they're looking for any excuse for you to take the dog back. Or one of them wants to keep the dog and they're fighting their spouse to keep the dog. You got to understand that there's a lot potentially happening, more so than just the aggression that the dog is displaying and showing. And in the first 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to see a lot. There's going to be a lot happening. And so if the person holding the leash is trying to pull the leash towards them, you're going to see a couple things. You're going to see, I'm not going to be able to tell you all the things, but you're going to see possibly the dog pulling away from the person. Because maybe the person that's holding the leash is not the one who spends most time with the dog, but it's the only person that can control the dog and the dog's kind of fearful of, right? And so they give the dog to that person because they feel like, oh, shoot, we got a stranger coming in or a person who hasn't seen the dog in a long time, and I don't want them to get bit. So here you hang on to the dog. But the dog spends more time with the person not holding the dog. So what you're going to see is the person that's holding the dog is kind of like leaning away, right? So what does that tell you? It tells you that there's a chance that the dog doesn't particularly care for the person that's holding on the leash, right? So you know that in that environment, there's at least one person that the dog possibly doesn't like, right? So it's good information. It doesn't answer all questions, but it's good information. All right. The thing, of course, you see the dog kind of shying towards the person or hiding behind the person, and you're watching for that person to encourage that behavior. The dog becomes fearful, right? The dog becomes cautious, and then you have a person that's petting the dog, right? And going, oh, it's okay, right? And the dog begins to get closer, it's okay, right? And you see this dynamic where the dog is going, okay, they want me to be this way because they're encouraging me to be this way. I must be doing the right thing. And the dog grows more into that cautious, fearful state because they're getting encouragement by the human being that they are rightfully so being fearful and blah, 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 right? So that's going to be possibly something you're going to address. Now, they're going to say, well, I normally don't do that. I'm only doing that today for a reason, right? So know that that's going to happen. All right, so you got the dog that goes like this to the person. There's an invisible person here, all right, going this, or you got the dog that's going like this to the person, hiding behind them and hugging up. You have dogs that their eyes are darting from place to place, like looking for a place of escape, right? And the dog doesn't know what to do, and he's like just looking around and not making eye contact. You want to see if he got that. Again, it's the dog that doesn't like the dynamics in the home. It's not always about you. It's again because things have changed, right? If you got a child or a teenager that could care less, right? They're coming in and they're going, and they check in and they're kind of like disgusted. I've had, you can see that, right? Especially if you have kids, you can read the room. The people that could care less, the people that care, the people that are, no, that's not true. That's not what the dog does. That's not how, right? You have all these little battles, and now you're understanding here. Hopefully I'm getting to a point that you're kind of beginning to understand. What are the dynamics that this dog is being forced to live in? And how is it affecting the dog's comfort level, fear level, that kind of stuff? So Jack may not even be close to what you thought I was going to tell you. You're going to say, well, what do I look for in the dog? Well, you're going to look at a little bit of things in the dog, but it's going to be in regard to how it's reacting to the dynamics. And at the same time, you're going to be multitasking. I know that people say that it's impossible, but you have to learn how to multitask in the sense that you're going to be watching what the dog is doing, what the people are doing, and what's happening all around inside of that home. What are some of the things that are going on? And what it is that you're going to have to deal with in regard to teaching this family how to deal with this dog that is aggressive. All right. One last thing that I want to address, and I'm so sorry, but there's so many offshoots of things that you're going to have to address. So you're going to have to figure out, okay, if the dog is aggressive because they're fearful, you're going to attack it this way. If the dog is truly just nasty aggressive and rank, right, then you're going to address it another way. If the dog is defensive, you're going to address it another way. If the dog is offensive in his aggression, in other words, he's at the end of the leash and now stands in between the human beings and you and is acting aggressive towards you, that's a whole another monster, right? So you have rank, you have defensive, you have offensive, you have fear, you have dogs that are possessive of inanimate objects, which are guarding, right? You have this dog that has this strong guarding that doesn't want to give up anything it's his. Again, not knowing how the child got bit, sometimes that happens because of that guarding of objects. The child merely came in the spot where the dog draws the line that you cannot come any closer to this thing. My couch, right? My rug, my bed, my toy, my food, my water, whatever that is, the dog will guard. And so you have those questions. But the place where I wanted to go and take you is that you're going to have to understand that you're going to have to attack it with truthfulness. And I've learned over the years that one of the things that people like about us at Falco Canine Academy is that we tell them the truth, even if we believe that the dog is in the wrong situation and maybe need to be removed. And that is hard. So you're going to have to be very careful that you're not just speaking out of your armpit, but understanding that there is that possibility that you can look at everything that's going on, right? You have this super, and let's say the dog is super aggressive, rank aggressive, and possibly offensive aggressive. And you have these things going on, and you have a family who just does not look like that, because that's a difficult trait to help them with. I struggle with saying fix or whatever. It's a difficult one to help them with because they all have to be on board. That's the problem, right? If they're not on, if you have one spouse who just get rid of the dog. We just don't, this is the wrong dog, right? And he's probably right, or she's probably right. Then you got the other one, no, I love this dog. I go jogging with this dog. 90% of the time, this dog is awesome, right? We love this dog, but I bet this kid, right? And it could do it again. And it could be by, a 90-year-old person on a walk. And I don't know I don't know why the child got bit. But when it comes to that point where you're sitting there, again, this is why evaluating the family is important, because you're going to have to make that decision. Are you all in? Are you all in to help this dog that you've decided, for whatever reason, this house was supposed to be this dog's forever home? If that was your decision to make this place this dog's forever home, you have to understand what I'm seeing in this dog requires everyone to be all in. That's important. And that's going to be an important question to answer, for them to answer to you when you've decided, this aggression is not just environmental, is just not social. This dog needs leaders in its life. It needs to be the subordinate of every person in this house. This dog, because of who he is with his rank drive or his offensive aggression, is in a family where there's anyone who's weak. When they're with that weak person, the dog's going to bite somebody and hurt somebody. And so that's what has to kind of be understood. And that's where understanding all the aspects of aggression are important. So I hope this tip is helping, because I feel like it's going probably deeper and farther than what the question necessarily was, because again, we can be looking at the dog, and the dog just in this situation is showing aggression because it's in this situation, not because it's a bad dog or is an aggressive dog. There's dogs that weren't aggressive until they got into a bad situation, right? And so looking at it and saying, okay, are you all in? Is everybody here? Is this all your family, Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Is this all your family? Yes, that's everybody lives here. No, they're service. Well, can you bring them in? Because we want to make sure that everybody's all in. Does everybody love this dog enough to put in the time it's going to take? It's going to take time. There's nothing that's fixed. Just magic. There's no magic collar. There's no magic leash. There's no magic harness. There's maybe a few medications that work, but they're not. They have to be given, right? They have to be paid for. They have to be, given in the right doses, where people just aren't like mixing them in their food and hoping the dog actually eats it. Because I found pills at the bottom of a bowl that a dog didn't eat, right? And so there's nothing that's just simply magic when it comes to aggression. So if you got two people, the husband and wife, you can probably determine that fairly quickly. If you got kids in the house where this dog bit somebody in that house and everybody's not in to making sure that it is safe to live with this dog in this home, there's a good chance that dog just simply is in the wrong home. And you have to make that decision. And that really sucks, because now this dog goes back to the shelter or a kennel. But you got to understand, and I know people want these dogs. Well, they decided to have the dog in their home. They should. I know, but it's in this dangerous situation. Somebody's going to get hurt. That dog's not getting euthanized. It's better the dog get taken back and put into a situation that's better for that dog than it is the dog safe in a situation where somebody's going to get hurt and the dog get euthanized, right? And so you have to make sure that they understand this, whatever it is, right? If it's the one that's going to take a lot of work, which environment takes a little bit of work, it takes days, it doesn't happen overnight, that the people are on board and they're going to take the advice. They're going to understand that they have to get training. They're going to understand that they have to put in the time, and they have to be motivated and understand that it's not going to be necessarily just a Saturday class. We tell all the people that come to our classes on Saturday, and I know this has gone on long, but I'm on rant and I'm on a roll. So again, I understand that if you have no interest in this, then I'm happy that the other stuff was interesting you. This is important enough for me to continue. So on our Saturday classes, everybody understands, and if you're watching this and have not been to one of our Saturday classes or a Wednesday night class or any other day that we've been offering one of our classes, is that if you think that your dog is going to get trained by attending a 1 hour Saturday class, then you are wrong. The most important thing about attending our class is that you take the information that we teach you within that hour and you apply it to your daily life, right? There's nothing that's going to change if you only train that hour on a Saturday or Wednesday evening, or that hour that we come to your house and you go private. If that's what you think is going to happen, regardless if it's us at Falco Canine Academy or Falco Canine Orange County or Argentina or Northern Ireland, where we've had facilities and trainers. If you think that that hour of training by one of us is going to change your dog, you are wrong. If you don't take the information that we give you and apply it to your daily life, nothing will change, right? If you don't change your habits with your dog, if you think this dog is exactly like your last dog, you're wrong, right? If you think it's only going to take an hour with us on a Saturday morning or a Wednesday night, you're wrong. You have to put in the time. You have to be committed to this dog. You are not one of the lucky ones who got a dog that just is. We have a dog in my family. Her name is Hazel, and she's a dog that just is. And I'm glad there's not a lot of dogs in the sense like her, because I would not have the business that I have today, because she just is from day one. When we yelled her name. What's up, buddy? My 4-year-old just walked in and he's acting. Hazel was just a dog that just knew. Right? I don't know how she knew, but when you called her name, she would come. When you would tell her to sit before she ate, she would sit and stare at you, and then you would tell her to eat. I don't know. I'm glad, again, there's not more dogs like her, but she just is. There's, fortunately, in a sense, I don't want nasty, bad dogs that bite people and hurt them, but there's enough dogs that need training and humans that need to understand how to live with their dogs, that we have a business and we have this thing. It's only going to happen. Things are only going to change when you put in the time, you put in the effort. That's the only thing that's going to work for you and your dog, and you'll be able to keep your dog in your home. Right? Oh, right? Say yes. Yes, for sure. You want to take the big stick and go eat it on the inside? Don't eat it on my new couch. You can eat it on the old couch. All right. All right. Thank you, buddy. All right. So, Jack, I hope I answered your question to at least a little bit. It is a difficult question to answer, even if I had more time, because there's so many variables. There's deciding which collar to use. You know, some people, you get there, they got their dog on 3 pinch collars or 1 pinch collar, and it's being worn horribly. It's not fitted right. Or it is correct, but it's not solving the problem. You may need to say, you know what, I don't know who told you how to use that pinch collar. It's not being used correctly. Maybe misunderstood. Even people that come to Falco Canine Academy and learn how to use a pinch collar correctly go away and I don't know. Did you not listen to what we were talking about? Because they come back to class and they got this dangling down pinch collar, right? It's not even making contact, and you're going, I thought we told you. Yeah, and so that happens. But you may need to get away from the pinch collar because the pinch collar is causing aggression, or they have electronic collar on and they're buzzing the dog and the dog, rah, right? And so you're saying, well, again, you're not using that the way that it needs to be used. And you've used it so poorly that we could never use that as a tool, because now it's the trigger, right? It could be that you've used the tool that could have been useful in a way that now is bad, because it's causing your aggression. It's not fixing the aggression. So there's those things you have to take into consideration. And others. Is the dog healthy? Have they had the dog medically checked? There's another tip for you. Has the dog been medically checked? Is the dog sore? At 5, it's not unheard of course, that the dog may have some hip dysplasia beginning, some arthritis, shoulders, you got your spine, you got the vertebrae that's near the tail. Very painful for a dog. And if a child were to touch that, they don't even have to pull the tail. If we're just petting the dog and touch that, it's enough to cause a dog to bite. Even the nicest dog will bite if they're in pain. So make sure the dog has been taken to the vet and evaluated, x-rayed. If you can see something, if the dog sitting a little oddly, and say, does the dog always sit like that? And, well, no, just recently, the last year or so, 6 months, the dog began to sit like that. It sits really slow. Or when I tell the dog to down, it used to down really fast, and now it downs really slow, right? Oh, it could be a little ache and pain, could be a little arthritis setting in. Look at the eyes. One of the dogs that got brought to me really young, about 2.5, 3 years old, for evaluation, because the dog wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. It was a Belgian Malinois, and it should have been doing better detection work, and it was just off. And as soon as I saw the dog in the light, I saw this green hue around the dog's eyes, and the dog was going blind, right? And the dog couldn't find the toy. So when you're rewarded, the dog wasn't getting the reward, and so the detection was going down. So I had nothing. They brought the dog for work on detection. And I looked at the dog and said, well, the dog's going blind. And so I said, take the dog to the vet. And oh, no, you're crazy. I go, take the dog to the vet and just find out. If I'm crazy, I'm crazy. Well, then we'll be in training, right? It doesn't hurt to take the dog to the vet. It costs a little bit of money, I know, but we can save a hell of a lot of time if we find out that it's something else. It has nothing to do with training, but there's a medical issue that needs to be addressed. And in dogs that bite, sometimes it's a painful thing like arthritis or some type of joint that's out of whack or something that's hurt the dog, and that's what's causing the dog to be aggressive. It's not that the dog is defensive aggressive or offensive aggressive or fearful or environmentally aggressive. It could be none of those things. The dog's in pain, and that needs to be looked at and addressed and understood. Does it necessarily mean we can always take the pain away and now the dog's no? Now we know that kids can't pet this dog because he's in pain, right? So you just change how this dog lives based on the information that we're getting. Right? It's not a training issue any longer. It's just understanding, well, no, I'm sorry, but children can't pet the dog. Or now you walk the dog in a park with a muzzle just in case the kid sneaks up on you and tries to pet them. These are just some of the things you need to consider. So I hope that was helpful, Jack. It's a way off base from how this video started in regard to bed bug detection, but that's why I left it to the end. So if you got here to the end, you knew it was coming. So hopefully I gave you the information that you wanted. And I hope you're enjoying the process of training Charlie and his bed bug detection. He's progressing along. I just got to not be sick. That would be helpful because you can hear probably my voice is starting to go again, and I'll be shot for the rest of the day. So I really thank you for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and put in, now for some reason my texts aren't coming through, but I'm going to try again. Yep, the text thing is not working for some reason. I am so sad. Let's try one more time. I'm going to try from another window here. But what I want you to do is click on this link, and I should have did this, I think I said. I should have done this much earlier. Here we go. And this is the report for training your dog with love and respect that you can get. If you don't have it yet, just go ahead and download it. You put your name and email address after clicking this link. It'll come to you in an email, and it's a very short report, about five pages long, on how we train dogs with love and respect. So hope you'll enjoy that if you don't have done it already. And either way, I will see you on the next one. And we're going to be progressing with Charlie's training, getting into some more environment. We'll be doing some more training with him. Some of it will be live as we're doing it. Other parts will be just like this video where we'll record and then put it up, and then we'll do a voiceover and describe what's happening. All right. So again, as always, hope that was helpful. Feel free, please, to go ahead and check the 5 stars on our Facebook page if you like what we're doing. If you don't like what we're doing, just send me a message, and we'll see if we can fix whatever it is that you don't like that we're doing. If it's changing my opinion, that's probably not going to happen. But other than that, I can surely do a little bit better on our broadcast, I'm sure. So just please feel free to do that. Let me know what you think and how we're doing. All right. That is it. I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye.